just so overjoyed to introduce Martin Rutte. He has a very impressive bio and he's had an amazing life. But I'm reminded of one of the most memorable mornings ever at the Inside Edge. It was the early 90s, and we were meeting in the ballroom at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And we always had at least 120 people there. And it was fun because we were making things up. We were all in our 30s and 40s, and Jack Canfield, before he was known for Chicken Soup for the Soul, brought Martin up to Paul and me and said that that Martin would speak and he would need 2 hours. Well, this was unheard of. This was something that we had never done. And of course, the group was a little rebellious about the whole thing. But I remember it as being one of the most dynamic and amazing mornings ever at the Inside Edge. Uh, those were the days, you know. And so I'll read a little bit from Martin's bio. He is the president of Livelihood, a management consulting company in Prince Edward Island in Canada. And he has worked with many, many, many corporations to help them expand their outlook and position themselves in the future. In the US, he's worked with Sony Pictures Entertainment, Southern California Edison, Virgin, Apple Computer. I mean, it just goes on and on. He is the co-author of the New York Times business bestseller, Chicken Soup for the Soul at Work. And he's an early pioneer in the management field of spirituality in the workplace. He calls his Project Heaven on Earth. He has a book, Project Heaven on Earth, the 3 simple questions that will help you change the world easily. And he sees heaven on earth as the new story of what it means to be a human and what it means to be humanity. Let's welcome Martin Rutte.
Diane, I remember that speaking with you and when you said yes, I could do the 2 hours, being so nervous. Here I was, a young kid from Canada, and I was going to LA, where everybody knew everything I had ever thought of. And it was just wonderful. It was an amazing 2 hours. So, hello, hello, hello. I'm delighted. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Tim, and whoever else, Mary Grace, who made today possible. As Diana said, I have done a lot of work on spirituality and work, and I was going to do a talk on that topic at a conference on that topic. And just before I was going to go on, I was meditating, praying, and I had this thought. If every business in the world is spiritual, is that what you want? And I said, no. Because if we could transform business through spirituality, we could transform, because business is the temporal power in the world, we could transform the world. And then this thought popped into my mind, oh, you mean heaven on earth? And I went, oh my God, you can't say that. And then I thought, well, why not? I could talk to you about hell's on earth, can I? War, environmental destruction, poverty, homelessness, illness. Those are totally acceptable conversations, but not the conversation about heaven on earth. The desire, the deep desire that our soul has for the kind of world that we deeply long for. Now, you can't talk about that. And that's nuts. So I began this inquiry. What is heaven on earth? I had no idea. And I'm not a big reader. I'm a big relationship interactor guy. So I started going around to people saying, and asking, what's heaven on earth for you? What's heaven on earth for you? What's heaven on earth for you? Over and over and over again, because I wanted to see what the lay of this land was. Were there any patterns in the answers? Did people go to the same places? I didn't know. I wanted to discover. And over the years of doing that, I began to discover, yes, in fact, there are areas, what I call gateways into heaven on earth. There's 7 gateways, which I'll talk about. But clearly they kept coming up over and over and over again. And then I thought, well, how can I, without imposing, how can I get you to discover what heaven on earth is for you and begin to engage in that in a way that was gentle and kind and respectful and really empowering. So I developed, with the help of some friends, 3 powerful, I believe, heaven on earth questions. And what I'd like to do is ask you each question. I'd like you to think about the answer, and then I'll take a couple of shares for each question. Now, let me just go to sharing here. Can you see that? Yes, we're good? Okay.
Yes.
So, thank you. Recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was happening? Recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was happening? Let me take shares now. Let me go off this so I can see. Okay, who would like to share a time that you experienced heaven on earth? What was going on? Yes, Bill. Unmute yourself. Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, I guess it would be a time, I can think of a number of times when I've been in a performance mode, where I've been telling a story, whether it's written or just realizing in the moment. And there's been an audience, and everybody, I feel connected to, and I can see it in their faces, and I can feel that we're kind of one spirit, and it's just, it's electricity back and forth. It's just a beautiful, I would say that would be an example.
Lovely. Thank you, Bill. A couple more. Who else? Yes, Melinda.
Yes, I had just finished a hike up at the top of the Palm Springs Tramway and came down after being immersed there and was looking out at all of the mountains, and I knew that I was part of them and we were all connected, every animal, every person, every rock, every tree, and that we were all connected. It was this unified wholeness experience, like God was living in every cell and every part of it and in me.
Ooh, lovely. Ruth.
Um, yes, I remember I thought it was a dream, but I wasn't sleeping when I saw all my friends was at a party and everybody liked everybody and everybody was excited to meet everybody. And I felt that there was something going on so extraordinary that all the colors seemed different. The sound seemed different. Everything was elevated and electrified. It was really quite remarkable.
Thank you. All right, one more. Lisa. All right, I'll go Lisa
Anytime
and Samuel. Okay.
anytime I'm creative, whether it's cooking, whether it's drawing, whether it's knitting, anything having to do with the creative being.
Very clear. Thank you. And who else did I say? Samuel.
When I was 10th grade class president, I was a major component of organizing what was called the Wild West Dance. And we hired a band. The music was fantastic. Everybody was engaged and excited, and I felt very connected to being part of this.
I thought you were going to go on, but that's a lovely ending. Very connected, being part of this. Got it. Thank you, everybody. Okay, let's go to the second question now. Imagine you have a magic wand, and with it, you can create heaven on earth. Imagine you have a magic wand, and with it, you can actually create heaven on earth simply by waving it. What is heaven on earth for you? Who'd like to share? Pamela.
Well, it would be heaven on earth with this magic wand, immediately with my eyes to see little hearts coming out of the other person's breast or chest, and then surrounded by little hearts, and then a smile from this person, and then extra light, and then the person walks gently towards me and doesn't, with respect, because the person doesn't know me, but goes like this, like a hug, in front of me. And that's heaven on earth. Love, love and connection, love and connection, love and connection.
Very clear. Diana, thank you.
Yes, I really feel that when we search for words that express our appreciation, that we do two things, that we validate somebody who may very much appreciate being validated and have their spirits lifted, but we're also lifting our own spirits because we're not focusing on the troubles of the world. We're actively doing something to our own physiology. So I'm saying that it's the whole love letter is just expressing in any way, even if it's not a letter, just with words. Um, I love watching what happens and feeling what happens when we do that.
Thank you, Diana. Next. Mary Grace.
Yeah, Sam.
Sam, sorry,
Yeah,
Sam.
I thought I had my hand up mechanically, but I guess I didn't. Yeah, it would be a world where
I want to interrupt. Change the word would, which is conditional, to will, which is declarative.
the world will, uh, the individuals in the world will be conscious enough to realize that, to forget the differences and all the ego attitudes and biases, and realize that we're all part of one family. And that takes consciousness, to see through the superficial differences, which are usually anchored in the ego, and see to the fact that we're all one family. And all of us came from Africa, and we're all one family.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you. Carolyn.
I just have this picture of everybody practically dancing in joy and celebrating each other as we're discovering new things about ourselves and new things about what is existence, and that people are growing, and there is only gentle competition. It's just excitement to bring even more out of each of ourselves, and that we're just in this big bubble of love and of appreciation.
Thank you. Before we go to Michael, I want you to just also be aware of, as each person shares and deepens heaven on earth, what it does to your own appreciation of heaven on earth. Michael.
Every morning, the first thing I do, I've said this to the group before, is I give thanks for the sunrise, because I have another day to live. And as far as I'm concerned, every day is heaven on earth, the way it is, with all its flaws.
Very clear. Let me take a couple more. If there are, you know how to raise your hand. I'm only looking at one screen here. Let me go to the second screen. Anyone else? No? Okay. Sorry, was there somebody saying yes? No? Okay. Let's go to question number 3 then. What simple, easy, concrete step or steps will you take in the next 24 hours to make heaven on earth real? What simple, easy, concrete steps that you know you'll do? It's so easy, and you know you're going to be successful at it. in the next 24 hours to make heaven on earth real?
Hi there. I'll take the sausage McMuffin with egg, 2 for $6.
Oh, somebody's.
Harvey, mute yourself, please.
I took care of it. We'll all get sausage muffins later.
That perhaps could be his act of creating heaven on earth. Who would like to share what they're going to do in the next 24 hours? Lori. Unmute him.
What I'm going to do is part of my just being really focused on what I do in the morning is being in gratitude and holding that space of that light within me to spread it out to others, and greeting others when I walk or when I go out with acknowledging them, whether it's through spoken or blessing them or saying hello. That's part of my path. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Next. Something you'll do in the next 24 hours. Simple, easy, concrete. Anyone? No? Okay. Let's go through the 3 questions. And I want to talk about structurally why I asked them the way I did. So question 1, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on? What was happening? What you'll notice is that I did not define what I mean by heaven on earth. I didn't say this is heaven on earth, this is the definition. What I did was ask the question, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth, what was going on? And what you'll notice is you answered the question. Well, that should tell you that there's what I call an already knowing within you that knows what heaven on earth is, or else you could not have answered the question. So question 1, recall a time, gets at the fact that there is an already knowing within you about heaven on earth, and that question surfaces it. Second question, here's a magic wand, and with it you can have heaven on earth simply by waving it. Now, why was the question structured that way? Because the magic wand removes the necessity of having to know how you're going to do something. And if you don't have to know how, you can go right into the what. Seeing the little hearts coming out, appreciative words, validating, conscious enough, dancing in joy, giving thanks for the sunrise, and all the answers we heard. The magic wand allows you to access the deep knowing about heaven on earth and to surface that, the soul's knowing, really. And then the third question, what simple, easy, concrete steps will you take? I don't want to just leave it at, now you know what heaven on earth is. I'd actually, if you choose, like you to engage in making that real every day. And there's 2 ways of making it real. One is something new that you've never done before, or something like Lori said, this is what I do every day, but she's now added, I'm saying, that also is her contribution to heaven on earth. So the 3 questions, surfacing that you already know, surfacing that it's there, you do know what heaven on earth is, and the third question rather, that you're going to engage in it, that you're going to start to take little, easy, simple steps, successful steps that you know will be successful, and get going on co-creating heaven on earth. Let me stop there and take comments, and then I'll go on to the next section. Comments, questions, anything? Yes, Jonathan.
Yeah, it feels like this organization exchange, that it's all in the question, and then holding space because everyone already has the information, and you're getting it from us. You're just facilitating the space for us to realize what's already there.
Yep, exactly, Jonathan. And you'll notice that I'm not imposing the answer.
Exactly.
But what I'm doing is evoking you're the answer.
Exactly. We're
Or
it.
a
Yeah.
woman said a couple of days ago, she said, all of us know I am the magic wand, which I love
Exactly.
that phrase. Now, I can only see half the people. So either, put your hand up electronically, or anyone, who else would like to share what you got out of that exercise? Michael.
Yeah, I think the question you're asking is extremely profound. And to me, I mean, it's just coming from where I come from. It's just that heaven on earth is really appreciating the quality of life we've already been given. I don't need any artificial fantasy to enhance that. It just means appreciating the depth of what we have.
Thank
That's
you. Thank you. Ruth.
Yes, Martin, it's kind of extraordinary, but that question is the question that I posed when I was leading interfaith seminars, and I wanted people to leave the room with the feeling that even one person could make a difference in the world. So that question seems to come out of the ether, because most people, when they look at a situation that seems impossible to resolve, they go weak at the knees and they say, I can't, what can I do? And so I added one component to it that I think helped people feel empowered. And that was, I explained to them the law of physics, that when you just move your little finger an inch, you actually change the molecular structure of the whole world by that little movement. And since it's a scientific law, it's also a spiritual law. And so then I would ask them to think in their own lives, what is the one small thing they could do when they left that would make a difference in the whole world? And it could be like just making peace with their neighbor, or picking up someone's mail. It could be the tiniest thing, but what amazes me is that, like you said, there's an understanding we already have that of what heaven on earth is, and also an understanding that we have to do things in small increments in order for us to feel it's possible to change the world. So I really appreciate listening to you this morning, because it validates heaven, if you know what I mean.
Thank you. But, speaking to that, so when I started doing this, the phrase is heaven on earth. And so earth we know, on we know. And I started asking people, what's heaven? Where's heaven? And the answer really surprised me. That most people think that heaven is the place you go after death. It's the place upstairs in the sky, the place where God and the angels are. The fundamental underlying assumption of all of that is not here, not now. And this challenges that. Because if it's not here, not now, then we can get away with the hells on earth. What difference does it make? I don't accept that anymore. When you look at all the turmoil in the world, for me, we cannot no longer accept that story. Other comments? Thank you, Ruth. Other comments? Oops, I can't see hands. Okay, Miriam. Miriam and then Melinda.
Sitting at my kitchen table with two very dear friends, having a deep, connected, lovely conversation.
Thank you, Miriam. Melinda.
As a student of polarity therapy, what comes to me is Dr. Randolph Stone's quote that he weaves throughout his work, and that is that heaven on earth is where love flows freely. And to access that, he talks about, grounding through the tailbone, drawing that up, connecting with the heavens, drawing that down to enliven our ultrasonic core, the core of who we are, and that interface with the divine as well. And bringing it right down here.
Thank you, Melinda. Let me talk now about the 7 gateways, and you've heard some of them in people's answer to question number 2, using a magic wand, what's heaven on earth? So I discovered, in terms of asking those three questions hundreds and hundreds of times over years and years and years, that there are 7 gateways. I'll just touch on them. I'll speak about. So this is the book, Project Heaven on Earth. Whoop, there you go. And it goes into the 3 questions and each of the 7 gateways in depth. So there are some people who say the way you create heaven on earth is internally. I go inside, I pray, I meditate, I walk in nature, I do art, I do writing, I do that which expands the heaven on earth that's already inside of me. And, or I go to therapy, I go to workshops, I try to get rid of the stuff that's in the way of internal heaven on earth. The premise being that the more heaven on earth in here, the more it shows up out there. Other people say it's about values, and we heard some of those this morning. Love. My wife's value is joy. She walks into a room, you are going to feel joy. I have a friend, Tim Klaus. He walks into a room, it could be the messiest room in the universe, and once he gets permission from you, he'll clean it up, and it'll be heaven on earth. So those people's premise is, when this one value is present globally, heaven on earth. There are other people who say heaven on earth is about relationship. Relationship with myself, a heaven on earth relationship. Relationship with another, with others, and with God. And they do stuff in those relationships to get rid of the garbage in the way and have more heaven on earth. Then there are people who say, well, wait a minute, what about the sufferings in the world? These are people who look externally. What about hunger and war and slavery and forced prostitution and those deep, deep, hurtful sufferings in the world? Those people will usually have what I call a keystone suffering. So think of an archway made of stones, and the one on the top that holds it all together is called a keystone suffering. The premise of those people is that when that one suffering, whatever it is for them, hunger, war, poverty, when that one suffering is eliminated from the world, not getting better, which is fine, but ending it, it's heaven on earth. Then there are people who say, well, what about the institutions of the world? What if government, business, law, religion, healthcare, media, what if those institutions took it upon themselves to be examples of and co-creators of heaven on earth? What would they do? What would they not do? Then there are people who say, no, my country. I remember the first person that I heard that from was in New Zealand. I did a seminar there once, and she said, no, New Zealand is a heaven on earth nation. Wow! But for her, that was so easy, so obvious. We have people now in Austria. There's a particular woman in Austria who's taken my book to the president of the country. Croatia, Hungary, Mexico. Here in Prince Edward Island, which is a province of Canada, we have a group of people who've declared Prince Edward Island Canada's first heaven on earth province. So there are people who say, no, my country, my nation is heaven on earth. And then the 7th is, and it's not in order, the last one, let's say, is this here now is heaven on earth, but we've forgotten. So those are the 7 gateways that consistently come up. Some people have 1, 2 or 3 are max. I haven't heard anyone who has all 7. So internal, living a global value, heaven on earth in relationships, ending a suffering, institutions as heaven on earth vehicles, nations as heaven on earth vehicles, and this here now as a gateway. And you'll notice that when we answer the second question, if you start listening now, you'll hear people assuming you ask the 3 questions, listen for how they view, which gateway they view it to. Now, this is a very important issue. I did a seminar once. A woman stands up and says, well, heaven on earth is about love. You have love in the world, you've got heaven on earth. Guy stands up after her, what are you talking about? Ending hunger. What are you talking about love? You've got to end hunger. That's the way you have heaven on earth. And they started to get into it. I said, wait, stop. Our job is to support her in having love in the world, and our job is to support him in the end of hunger. So it's not about my answer is the way to do it. It's the way to do it for you. It may not be for the other person. If it is for the other person, that's wonderful. But if it's not for the other person, support them in their contribution, in their gateway into heaven on earth. Let me stop there for a moment and take comments, questions. Then I want to give you a whole bunch of examples of what people are actually doing to make this real. Comments? Let me go to no. Okay. Do I see a hand? I don't see a hand. All right. So let's go through some examples here. Where do I share screen? So there was a woman, we were doing a seminar, and she talking about the sufferings in the world. And she got really, really angry. Martin, violence against women is driving me nuts and hurting women. I've been to the police, I've been to the government, nothing, absolutely nothing. What would you do? I was really mad. Well, I said, Susan, I don't know your financial situation. You could donate $5,000, you could donate a penny. Well, what difference would a penny make? Another woman on the call, Diane, said, wait a minute. What if everybody in your county donated a penny a day to help end violence against women? She went, oh my God. And so they started this program called Making Change. You'll see that it's a mason jar with, on the left, a picture of a woman, her face bruised, beaten up. And the picture on the right, woman with light coming out of her face. They went and gave those bottles to people who wanted them with the instruction, put a penny a day for a year. You cannot put $3.65 and say that's the year. No, no, no. A penny, a penny, a penny, a penny. Because they wanted that consciousness to get into people's heads. They handed it out to two counties where they were. They raised $2,500. They took that, this was in Canada, they took it to a group in the federal government here called Status of Women, who gave them, based on this result, $100,000 for each of the subsequent 3 years. And now the woman says to me, whenever I call anybody, their first question is, what can I do to help? That example is so powerful to me. What difference would a penny make? Nothing. Unless you say, okay, I can make a difference, and I'm going to make a difference, and here's how. This is a woman who runs a little gift store and decided to, it's called the Soap Drawer, and made a heaven on earth soap. She sold my book in her store. She sold soap in her store. This is a man, Justin Kreiner, a police officer. And I said, Justin, what's heaven on earth for policing, for crime? And he, excuse me, what is heaven on earth for policing? And he said, the end of crime and people helping each other. And he's created a 16-page manual called Discovering Heaven on Earth for Law Enforcement. This is a spiritual group in Sacramento, California called Bread of Life. They heard my presentation and they created a 28-page manual called, the purpose of which is that congregations, in this case Christian, Jewish, and Muslim, they gave them scriptural background and talked about the three questions and talked about how people in these religious places of worship, could actually have heaven on earth. This is a dentist in Toronto, Dr. Dana Colson, loved heaven on earth. This is what she did. You go into her office, you lie down, you sit rather in the dental chair, it goes flat, and you look up on the ceiling, and what's there? The light that she shines in your face. But also, if you see here, right here, a sign that says heaven on earth. She doesn't say anything about it. If you ask, she'll speak about it. If you don't ask, she doesn't say a word. This is a tea company, Lady Baker's Tea. If you see, the name of the tea is Heaven on Earth Tea. because she wanted, and she did, blend the teas of the world to appreciate a harmony of the peoples of the world. This is a real estate agent, Brenda McKenzie, who works for a company called Engel and Volkler. And we were having coffee one day, and we were talking about heaven on earth, and we are talking about the sufferings in the world. And I said, is there a suffering that bothers you, Brenda? And she said, there is, homelessness. And she went white. You could see how deeply, deeply this affected her. So I said, all right, what's the heaven on earth goal for homelessness? She said, well, obviously a home for everyone. Bah, no, Martin, that's impossible. You know, I'm in a relationship that takes 80 hours a day. I'm a real estate agent. That takes 20 days a week. You don't understand. Just blah, 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 blah. Great. What are you going to do, Brenda? Light bulb goes on. She goes back to her agency, sits them down and says, okay, we are going to create a home for everyone. How? Easily. I'm asking you to agree that when you sell a home or a building, commercial building, that you will agree that $100 will come off your commission check automatically. All you have to do is say yes and we'll do it. And here is a home for everyone donating $31,000 to this project. Now all the real estate, this has become a project of the Real Estate Board of Nova Scotia, the entire province. And when I spoke to her 4 years ago, to her previous place when she started this program, she had raised $400,000. It's incredible what this woman's doing. This is a group of nuns, the Sisters of St. Martha. And I did an 8-week course for them on heaven on earth. The biggest takeaway that they got was heaven is not only after you die, that actually we can and we are going to co-create heaven on earth here. Project Heaven on Earth in Croatia. This is a man, Charles Torre, who's from the country of Gabon, and when he heard Heaven on Earth, he went, oh my God, I love it, but it's not big enough. I want it for Africa. So this is his Facebook group, Africa, a Heaven on Earth continent. So you see what happens when people get the idea of what they can do. I want to show you, where's my other, oops, I thought I had one more here. No, there's a group in Kenya, I thought I had this here, whoop, who create little bands with heaven on earth on them. Marriage counselors who say, what is heaven on earth for your relationship? The context, think of it like a computer program, a new computer program, you install it, you boot it up, and it gives you a context of new possibilities, new opportunities into which you put your unique content. I've been doing this over 30 years, and it still surprises me at the creativity people come up with when we start thinking about what heaven on earth is. When they get that it's more than a soul's longing, it's something that can actually be made real today, here. All right, questions, comments?
Bravo. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Samuel.
Paul.
Something else came to mind. My favorite heaven on earth experience was I created a heaven on earth bar mitzvah. When I was 20, I had my first sexual experience. And it moved me so much that the theme of my bar mitzvah was sensuality. And I read from the Song of Songs in the Bible. My brother was there taking a Super 8 movie. My sister was there teaching Israeli dancing. I brought all the best tropical fruits. It was in a home overlooking the city. There were no adults there except for my friend's parents. And it was just an entirely magical evening, unforgettable evening. And people said it was the best bar mitzvah they ever went to. That was heaven on earth.
Samuel, I'm Jewish, and there's a little confusion here. You said you did it at 20, but a bar mitzvah is 13.
Yeah, but when I was 13, I didn't go to Hebrew school. And my mother said, you didn't go to school to prepare for it, and we can't afford it anyway. So I thought I felt deprived, and I thought at 20 I could create my own. It wasn't official. It was my official, not society is official.
I say it's official. Muzzle tough. That's I've never heard. That's a fabulous story.
It was amazing, amazing.
I've never heard anything like it. 35 years doing this, and I'm still, shocked by people's answers. Thank you. Paul, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I have this screensaver, and I call it Beautiful Photos. And, it's hundreds of photos I've collected that people have taken that are just beautiful around Earth. And that just reminds me that we're living in heaven on Earth every day. We just need to be aware of it and appreciate it.
And we can be aware of it in this moment. As simple as that. Yeah. Next, thank you. Bonnie.
As you're speaking, it's just reminding me that all these wonderful groups, I'm thinking when I first joined Mastery Circle in 2020, one of the first speakers I heard was Grandma Sparky, and that's how I met Mac. And then I said, Mac, you would enjoy Mastery Circle. But there's just this feeling of all of these wonderful groups could get together. I don't know, there's something just coming to me that is very, very big, but just it's again a reminder of one person at a time we can really make a difference. That's kind of that's one of Sparky's slogan. But this is so powerful. I just wow.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Bonnie. I'm writing a new book, and one of the aspects that I've been exploring is the notion of we. That in this new era, which has been called the second axial age. I don't have to go into that, but one of the aspects I believe is that we will come to the fore, a healthy, efficient, effective we, because a lot of the problems in the world today can only be solved by we, and I has gone too far. So it is a healthy I within a healthy, efficient, and effective we. Yep. Ruth and Diana?
I heard that the Celestine prophecy at one time was being read by most of the members of Congress. And I think your book, not only from, bottom up, but from top down. And I wonder, have you explored how would you be able to get a Congress, a parliament, a group within a country on the bandwagon, because it seems like if both were happening simultaneously, we would get there much faster, not just, and how could we be helpful in getting you to reach the people in government? I don't personally can't think of anybody at this moment except maybe a city councilman or someone that we know on a local level, but it feels very much like it needs to be considered governmentally.
Ruth, one of the things that happens when I do these talks is that people come up with, like you, with an idea that seems so obvious to them and is so needed. And I want to say to you, would you like to take that on?
I'm in the middle of producing a musical that I've been working on for 9 years, and I can't take on one more thing, but I will think of someone perhaps I can convey it to, and who is in a position to make it happen. I don't know, maybe the interfaith communities that are already meeting together and finding commonality. And so maybe there's a way to do it through a particular community rather than a government official. I don't know. I'd love to talk to you more about this because I think it's such a great idea. Maybe we can.
Well, I want to, here's my request. You're doing the musical. That takes a lot. I'm requesting that you add this to what you're doing, but only on the condition that it's hyper easy. There can be no effort, no strain. If there's any effort or strain, don't do it. And just hold the intention. One of the things I did here on Prince Edward Island is I went and interviewed Each of the four, there's four political parties here on the island, provincially. I interviewed each of those four leaders and I asked them the three questions, and I asked them a fourth question, which was, using the same magic wand, what is heaven on earth for Prince Edward Island? And they all answered it, and I made it into a video. And just when we end, I'll put it in the chat so you can see how easily that was done. And it was an idea of a woman, you'll see her at the beginning of the video with me, and boom, we did it. It's amazing. So it can be done easily. It has to be easily, especially for you. You cannot be overwhelmed. Diana. Oh no, actually, one other thing before I go to Diana. So one of the things in the book that I talk about is, what are the objections? What are the roadblocks, rather, to heaven on earth? One of them is, it's too overwhelming. Me ending hunger, me getting every member of Congress, or here in Canada, every member of Parliament to do this, is overwhelming. All right. Last night, in secret session, every government in the world passed a new law, and under this new law, you are no longer allowed to be overwhelmed. The benefit, here's why. Because when somebody says, I'm overwhelmed, the ego is taken over, the mind is taken over. So if you're not legally allowed anymore to be overwhelmed, oh, well, I'm not overwhelmed. Good. Then the next question is, what can I do that I want to do? It opens up entirely new possibilities. So I'll put that in at the end. Diana?
Yeah, this is so great. What really touches me is that I think what we all want is a feeling. It's not a thing. And the feeling that I have right now, that this group, this beautiful screen of people, we're all gathered here and we're discussing something that is incredibly empowering and uplifting. And this is what turns me on more than anything in the world, is this feeling that I have that we are conspiring for good. It just feels wonderful. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Remember, Werner Erhard years ago asked this question in the S magazine. Yeah, what's the opposite of catastrophe? What kind of a question is that? And one person who won the contest came up with the word benestrophe, bene from good. That catastrophe means something bad has broken out. Benestrophe means something good has broken out. So, benestrophe. Who else? Let's just open it up. Samuel. Bar mitzvah bocher.
Yeah. What comes to mind is a book I read maybe 40 years ago called Tierra Christa by Ken Carey. And it talks about the problem of people trying to bring earth up to heaven instead of bringing heaven to earth. And as I was reading this book, I could feel it in my blood, in my bones. I became more solid. I got the concept on such a deep level, it changed my life. He was a great writer. Ken Carey took his family out into nature and lived off of the land. He had like 4 kids. He's a great writer.
Lovely.
So I highly recommend that book. I'm sending this to everybody.
Diane, you misspelled the word. It's B-E-N-E. Whoops, hold on. Benest. T-R-O-P-H-E, not Y at the end. Someone could put that in. Who else? I want to just open it here to... Oh, I've got 10 minutes. Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Peering. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to mention that I've a member of quite a few Tibetan Buddhist meditation groups, and most have taken bodhisattva vows. And a bodhisattva is someone who says, I'm not going to go to heaven until everybody goes to heaven. And so that's one thing they're doing. And in the meditation also, they emanate their body into billions and billions of bodies, as many as there are atoms in the universe. They go out and they end suffering and they bring joy to the world. So this is being worked on all over the place, Barton. A whole huge population of Buddhists are working on this. They are also taking plaques and they're putting them all over the world on mountains and in oceans and stuff. The plaques contain relics of great masters, great Rinpoches, great teachers, and these are emanating radiation out for the same purpose, to just absolutely change the atmosphere. So I wanted to contribute that to the effort that you're doing. This is happening all over the place, and consciousness is raising because this great darkness in the Kali Yuga is pulling up great light at the same time.
Yes, I want to speak to that, Tim. So the turmoil on the surface of the ocean, as you just brilliantly said, is pulling up phenomenal stuff. And I know that Heaven on Earth is working. I have this meme, this thought form. I subscribe to Google Alerts, which is a free service, and I put in the phrase Heaven on Earth, and every morning I get a listing of where that phrase is coming up in English media around the world. And it's stunning. Like 99.99999 having nothing to do with me. So it is arising, as you said, Tim. I agree. I want to read something at the back of the book here.
Martin, I just want to let you know we have about 7-8 minutes left.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm right on it. And I want to read. This is the Heaven on Earth Pledge. So you might even want to close your eyes as I read this slowly. We, the people of the earth, say with authority that we are committed to having the world work. We, the people of the earth, commit to creating sustainable global peace. We, the people of the earth, commit to ensuring that our entire family is fed, is literate, and has access to opportunities for self-reliance, contribution, and service. We, the people of the earth, commit to supporting and nurturing the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and creative well-being of all. We, the people of the earth, commit to making our planetary home safe, healthy, empowering, and enlivening for everyone. We, the people of the earth, commit to being responsible and accountable to each other and for each other. We, the people of the earth, commit to honoring and valuing our planet's living biosphere and all life. And we, the people of the earth, with the grace of God, are committed to having heaven on earth. The book is Project Heaven on Earth, project as a noun, and project as a verb, to project heaven on earth. It's on Amazon, and I'm going to ask you to buy 3 copies, if you would. One for you, one for someone in your life for whom you know this book is perfect at this moment. Think of that, who that person is now. And one for somebody coming into your life that you don't even know yet. So that you individually and we collectively are co-creating heaven on earth. Thank you. Thank you.
We have about 5 or so minutes left, so if...
How can we reach you, Martin?
ProjectHeavenOnEarth.com.
Thank you.
Or, sorry, make it easy. Martin at ProjectHeavenOnEarth.com. What's an old teacher of mine used to say, what's become clearer to you as a result of this session? Diana.
I this week discovered the Celtic version of the Lord's Prayer, and it just kept coming to me as you were talking. I'll just read it really quickly. It's by John Philip Newell. Holy One beyond all names, eternal wellspring, may love rise again in us today with food for every table, shelter for every family, and reverence for every life. Forgive us our failings in love and free us from all falseness, that the light of our souls may shine and the strength of our spirits endure for earth and all its people this day, tonight, and forever. Amen.
Amen. You know, I've been doing this for 35, 40 years, and it still so moves me.
That everyone has a gift, and it's not competitive, it's more collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
And that was held today. It's very clear.
Thank you.
I want to emphasize the relationship part of this too, that what is happening now is in Buddhism they say the Sangha, which is the group, is now the new Buddha. And so where we are in relationship, it's so powerful as this wisdom just infuses everything and energizes everything. So I really emphasize what you say, Martin, about the relationship, because that's the pattern now that's making a difference.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, Levita.
Levita.
Levita, yeah.
Yes, thank you. This brought to mind a little picture I saw a long, long time ago where there were stick figures all around in a circle. And initially they had little tiny spoons and they were all dipping into this pot, feeding themselves. And the next picture was them having very long spoons and everybody was starving. They had very long spoons and they were dipping and feeding each other. So it's like they were in a circle of community. And the only way that we're going to survive is if we nurture and feed each other as if it is ourselves. And I have hunted for that picture because it just a snapshot. It just represents so much of what you're talking about today, Martin. Thank you so much. And I truly believe in the we.
And I've been using a new form of we, not small w, small e, or large w, small e, but large W, large E. I want to put the new context, yeah, I never thought of that word, the new context of we into place. All right, I have 2 minutes. Who else?
I put your link to your book on Amazon into the chat.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Patricia.
Yes, you reminded me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
When I first arrived in this country, the culture shock I had was that I come from a country where we think in terms of food. But here, it's all about I. And it was still to this day. It's just I'm still struggling with that because there's this strong sense of community. Being with a family, when I brought my son to my country as a teenager, he said, "Did you realize we were never alone?"
Lovely.
There's no such thing as being alone.
What country? Do you want to tell us?
I'm from Argentina.
Ah. Yes. Oh, that's my time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you. And Diana, I love you so deeply. Just thank you, dear. Oh, I love you. That's my love letter to you. Ha ha. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Martin, for this wonderful presentation.